All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Nocturnal Movie Club. I am your host, OJ Williams. I am joined by my esteemed colleagues, Ethan Singh and Jake King. What's up, guys?
Hey, OJ.
Um, WandaVision episode 6? Is it episode 6 already?
It's episode 6 already, 2/3 of the way done.
Jesus Christ. Ethan, break it down for us, please.
Got you. So we open up following after that tense scene between Wanda and Vision and the introduction of Pietro. We are joined in their house as they're prepping for Halloween. And things are not as easygoing as they seem still. Things are very tense between Wanda and Vision. And it culminates between Vision getting made fun of by Pietro and Vision commenting that, well, this is the only clothes in my closet, so I didn't even have a choice of what I could or couldn't wear. And while Vision's about to start to really dig into Wanda, we hear an audio cue and Vision snaps back into place and says his lines as he should. He then causes another piece of conflict when he says he's going to leave to do the neighborhood watch and leaves, leaving Pietro, Wanda, and the kids to do Halloween on their own. We cut from them back to the real world where Monica and Sword are talking and really arguing. The argument eventually breaks down where they blame Monica for siding with Wanda too much, and they cause the two groups to split, meaning Monica, Jimmy, and Darcy, and the Sword team. We eventually go back to Wanda, and she and Pietro are trying to talk a little bit. Wanda's trying to pry and ask the questions we want to ask. Why does Pietro look different? Do you remember anything from your past? Why are things going on like this? And he doesn't really answer anything directly. Instead, he ends up taking the kids going on, causing havoc around the neighborhood. Herb has another little moment where he asks Wanda, is this how you want things to go? Should I change it up? Subtly continuing to just be very on the nose that Wanda is controlling everything. Then things start to get really interesting when we cut to Vision. Vision goes to the far reaches of town and finds everyone acting like a video game NPC. No one is doing anything natural. Everyone's acting like they're an animatronic. We get one of our commercials. The commercial is pretty weird. We have to talk more about that. And then we go back to Wanda and Pietro talking about their past, and they're really now diving into it. We finally find out that Pietro does in fact remember that he was shot. He did have a life before this. Everything is true. This is the same Pietro. He just looks completely different, and he also can't explain it. And Wanda admits pretty tellingly that she also cannot explain it, hinting that she may not be in control. Vision, we come back to, is now talking to Agnes. Agnes, for some reason or the other, is able to get to the edge of town and trying to escape. He brings her out. She tells him he's dead. Vision decides to just carry on, walks through the outer realm, back into the real world, and disintegrates, causing Wanda to get upset and expand her world further and further and further, increasing the size of Westview. And the episode ends.
I have lots of questions. Like,
so much stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, so when she was questioning Pietro, and he was like, I know what you're doing. I was like, all right, so you're a villain, I guess, Pietro. But it's in line though with Vision. Like, Vision doesn't know anything about his past life prior to them getting in Westview.
Correct.
So I'm like, so that lines up. But then at the same time though, Vision doesn't remember dying, but Pietro does.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so wait, you're a villain again. And then she like how, remember with Vision, she breaks out of it real quick and she sees dead Pietro, which is horrifying.
Yeah.
I was surprised that wasn't Aaron Taylor Johnson.
Right. So I'm just like,
point.
I'm just confused. It's like not consistent, or maybe they're trying to throw us off. I was just like, I have a couple questions. But my favorite part of this episode was the twins.
Yeah.
And they were just awesome. I found the twins to be just such a delight, and they're really good actors too. And we saw their emergence of their powers, which is great. Another cool note that I love that they went back to their style of speed. Like, X-Men and they had a different take on it when he was moving so fast. Mm-hmm. He never moved. So it was cool to see Evan Peters in a Marvel MCU style of Speed Force. I thought that was a cool nudge.
I think one of the interesting things though, like when you were first mentioning like what they can and cannot remember, Vision can't remember being an Avenger. He didn't remember how he died. Pietro does remember he died. which makes him unique. But Wanda is on the same page with Vision in that she cannot remember how she started everything. When
Right.
Pietro notes like, "This is incredible, sis. How did you do this?" She's like, "Really, I don't know." Which to me was the final nail in the coffin that she's not in control of all of this. She's just another piece in this puzzle.
Yeah, but as soon as she hears the news about Vision, she like I don't
Expands
know. Yeah, expands it. Like how? Like there's so many questions here.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm sure, like, because obviously, as this episode showed, she's not in control of everything, but how she got to that point of being a vessel is, I think it's going to be an interesting fact once they bring that up.
I
Yeah,
think
is it Mephisto? Is it Nightmare? We don't know. Like, but one of those I think entities has to be controlled.
Yeah, and which actually brings me to the sitcom that they're emulating here, which we thought it was going to be Sabrina the Teenage Witch, but it turned out to be more Malcolm in the Middle,
yeah.
which I think is a perfect sitcom to build off of, because we get to see more of the kids in this one because they're directing the audience. They're dealing with more darker family conflicts, like because the parents in this one are fighting, in their words, even though we know what happened at the end of episode 5. And I also found it kind of interesting, like how when Quicksilver joins this, he's kind of like in the role of Francis as he was in Malcolm in the Middle. He's like the older brother or some related family member who's just hanging around the house. I mean, it becomes Francis's thing, like I think towards the middle of the show, but
Right. No, there was a lot of cool things here. Like we were talking about earlier before the show started. They crammed a lot in. So many references. Like even in the beginning when they're afraid to wake him up. They're like, they're saying mom is different. Everything's been different since he got here. Mom is different. They don't, just like they were afraid he's evil or something. They were afraid to wake him up. It was just like a lot of things. Even the kick-ass reference I thought was
Yeah.
cool.
I was just gonna bring that up.
Yeah, like how they just crammed a lot in. But I mean, it's still a great episode though.
yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like this one's like one of the lesser ones compared to last week, I would say, because last week we really started to see a shift. This one,
True.
because I was also noticing this time, like, about how much they emulate what they're building off of. So, like, with Malcolm in the Middle, they got like the aesthetics of it down. Like, they got the jazzy music underneath the dialogue. They got a lot of the plays with cinematography. Like, I don't know if you saw when Quicksilver was lying down on the couch, they used like a diapater lens where it's like both parts
Both
are
were in focus. Yeah.
yeah. So like visual and audio they got down, but
Absolutely.
thematically it's a little off. I think they kind of misunderstood like what made Malcolm in the Middle connected so well with audiences, which is what I thought they were going to do with each one of these different sitcom styles.
I agree. I mean, but you also have to remember the Malcolm Middle meets MCU, so there's still all the MCU world building you have to do, all these connecting they still have to do. So
I
like
get
once you
that.
put that into play,
Yeah,
huh?
and that I understand that. It's just I felt the impact was a little less this time around as opposed
Yeah.
to the last episode.
It's true. It's like the thing I've been complaining about now, I think, for a couple of weeks. Just I think the sitcom thing is starting to wear its end. It's starting to become truly just a gimmick and it's starting to hold them back. They should stop depending on it so heavily, but it's still kind of cool to see every week. So I'm very ambivalent about it.
Well, it's definitely coming back next week.
Oh, that's for sure. At least for one more week.
Yeah.
And Darcy's going to be in it this time.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Which is
right.
cool.
Gonna
I
love to
didn't
see
thought
her
of
as a
that.
housewife.
I wonder if they're going to do Two Broke Girls.
Oh, still
That's
meta.
that's a very 2010s comedy, isn't it?
Well, no, they're going for Modern Family next week.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, next week is a spoiler. I need to start like.
You can start. We just put
Mar-
spoiler alert
Marvel
over the
Family.
whole thing.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is
Sorry.
a
Next week is Modern Family.
Nocturnal
like,
Movie Club spoiler edition.
Spoil every episode's a spoiler. I spoiled the whole show. Like I think the first episode,
It's good.
first
though.
review. Yeah, next week is Modern Family, where they're gonna do. I don't know if you guys seen Modern Family, but on Modern Family they do these
Interviews.
these interviews, off camera monologue interviews. So that should be kind of cool with like different cast members and stuff. Another crazy thing. I mean, Hayward is so whack. He's like I don't even think he's a good actor. But obviously he has
On the
something
same
going
page.
on. He I mean, clearly he's such like an atypical villain. Hopefully there's something more. I've been hearing a lot of rumble online that Ultron is like somehow controlling him, and
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors that they're going to try to bring Ultron back.
yeah, we'll see. You know, they're teasing this big cameo at the end. If it's Ultron, that's cool, and he's like in charge of. He's really in charge of Sword, which like makes kind of sense because now Sword is more of like this technology based thing,
Sure.
instead of like a space based thing, which is the comics. Um, and I just wonder that makes sense of why he wants Vision so bad. Ultron always wanted the Vision body, so that would make a lot of sense. But what was very interesting was when Vision started to leave Westview, he was like disintegrating. I'm just like, what's happened? It was weird. I expected him to like look dead. Like I expected him to come out as he was, but he was really disintegrating. It was odd.
It's like how does that affect everyone else? Like, does everyone else disintegrate?
Right, like this,
like the only way you can like actually survive is if you're thrown out.
Yeah, I guess.
Wanda, I guess, because Monica made it out quote unquote fine. She's still okay, normal.
But like you bring up a good point though. But Wanda's cells are changing.
Yes.
Because of it, like she's, this is just an excuse to give her powers, but her molecular cells were changing. It's some science term, I can't even say it. But I guess but she also came out under the red protection of Wanda. She had like it was in a bubble a little bit. So I don't know. Maybe that's just like the consequences of leaving Westview.
Maybe.
Or what happened to Vision. We'll see.
We'll see how consistent the universe is.
Yeah, exactly.
In the next couple episodes.
One thing I do have to say about Hayward, I do agree with you that like his performance feels like a little off. But one thing I did like in this episode, like they gave him like a little bit of humanity, where he was talking about how hard it was for him during the blip.
Sure.
That made a lot of sense. Yeah.
But I think more than anything, he's just a contrived villain. Like they had this character, and like let's just make him the villain. Why is he mad? No reason. He just needs to be mad for something. He picked Wanda to do this mission in the first place. He pretty much knew what was going to happen. And you're going to have to suspect if a whole town goes missing, a superpowered person is behind it. And if he already mentions, I know your history with Carol Danvers. So you obviously know she has a thing for superheroes. So the whole thing to me was like, did you set yourself up to fail? How smart is this man? So that whole thing was like, they're just creating conflict for the sake of conflict. I think they read through the script and they were like, this script isn't punchy enough. We need to have another scene here. Yeah. And that's where we ended up here. Because to be honest, if they had that fight or if they didn't have that fight, it didn't affect the episode at all. That was literally a plot device just to get Darcy into the Wanda realm. But they didn't need it to do that either.
Right. I mean, and then there you go again, the MCU's excessive need to connect the dots. Like, oh, we get it. Yeah. We get that she knows Carol Danvers. We all know that. Like, we don't need another hint. Like, she's going to be in Captain Marvel 2. We get it.
Exactly.
But I am curious to see about the scientist, like who's going to get Monica back into the bubble safely, is what I'm curious too. Like, who's that person? Is it Reed Richards? Is that the big T? We'll see.
Right. Maybe that's the Luke Skywalker cameo we were promised.
Yeah, John Krasinski. Here you go.
By the way, Ethan, you were mentioning before about the commercial.
Right, because the commercial was so weird, and I don't understand it, because we have this Yo Magic yogurt, right? Just sort of like a weird Go-Gurt, I guess, ripoff. I don't know. I remember the commercials from the early 2000s. And this kid saying, I'm super hungry, and the shark gives it to him, and then he's just stuck opening it for days, and the kid dies on the island. To me, I read that, I was like, what the? That's not a normal commercial. That's not like normally all the commercials work out fine. And you could say that the commercials are a reflection of Wanda's subconscious. But here, to me, it's like a sign that Wanda is completely not controlling this anymore, like, or not in full control. Because if she was controlling it, this commercial should have had a logical ending. It just didn't have that. To me,
so it didn't make any sense. I was like, are these people going to die? Are they not eating? Is that what you're trying to tell us? Like,
yeah. So also, Ethan, are you suggesting that like maybe these commercials are Wanda's suppressed memories? Like,
yes. I got that from the first or the second episode with the toaster, with the way the toaster would just, when you held it down, it would just beep for a really long period of time, like the way a bomb would beep. And that kind of goes back to how her parents died, where a bomb fell, didn't explode right away, took a couple of seconds, and then blew up. And all the different companies she mentions are things she would have been very familiar with, like Stark and Hydra. So I've been thinking the whole time it's been her subconscious memories. And here with this one, where this commercial is so unsettling and uncommercial like, it couldn't be a real commercial. This has to be her subconscious melting down. That's what I got from it. But OJ has a good point too. Is this a sign that everyone's going to starve and die? Because how are they eating? There's a woman literally just doing this in the background over and over again.
Yeah, and she's like crying, help, help. But that brings up another great point. I'm like, we've been suspecting for weeks, like, what is Agnes's role here? And when Vision wakes her up, it's not what we expected at all. We expected Agnes to go full villain right there,
right?
And she was almost like she's trapped there too, and she's like, it was weird though because she started laughing in the end. I was just like,
There's still maybe a path to go down.
Yeah, like what's happening here? Are you evil? Are you not? Are you also just a victim? It left it very open ended. And then once he snapped her back, then it was like back to her. Really?
That's the regular.
Exactly.
Oh, here goes Feige again. Let me just say it. Then it goes back to her sitcom. So I'm just like, what? Are you Agnes Harkness or what? Like, give us something. So it was weird though because it wasn't clear at all about like what her role still is in all of this.
I felt the character was so strange because even when Vision pulls her out, all she says is, "You're dead, dead, dead," and she just keeps repeating it like she's an NPC. But she's supposed to be a normal person again. I don't know. It was kind of weird.
Well, yeah, and then she starts laughing at the end. I'm like, oh, okay. What are you? Like, I'm just confused.
I'm also curious, like, if she's, because everybody is supposedly under Wanda's control, right? Supposedly, how is she able to even will herself to drive to the end of town in the first place?
Exactly.
Maybe that was just like where the internal script had her stop.
Which is like leads to the question more like, okay, maybe Agnes she's special, she's enhanced, maybe that's why she was able to like semi get to the point. I don't know, but obviously there's more than meets the eye with Agnes still, and we're still like have yet to figure out who or what she is. I love that we got to see all their Halloween costumes, comic accurate Halloween costumes.
Exactly.
Even with Billy, but it was so mad Tommy didn't get his comic accurate in the comics JQ picture. Tommy has like a green like latex suit with goggles.
Right.
But Billy though had his like semi-comic costume on, so I thought that was interesting. And then we saw them develop their powers. I love that Billy has his distinct blue and like Wanda has her distinct red. So I thought that was cool. I just can't wait for the twins to grow up. They're some of my favorite characters, especially Billy.
It's gonna be really exciting.
Oh yeah. But yeah, it was just really cool to see Wanda finally in her headpiece, which looked great on her, by the way.
Yeah,
I can't wait. Hopefully, we get like a full-on MCU headpiece, semi-comic accurate costume for her. And then finally, I love I love their fake background for it too. She was a Sokovian gypsy look. I thought that was awesome too. I was like, oh, all right, I can get down with that for that new backstory. And then we'll hopefully by the end of the show, they've been saying this since they announced the show. We'll see why and how she gets the name Scarlet Witch, because still in the MCU, she's not called Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
So I'm waiting on that as well.
Sure.
I'm trying to think what else was really cool about this episode.
Yeah, me too.
It was weird because like even Quicksilver brought it up. He's like, "Where did you get all these kids from?" All of a sudden.
Oh right, like they're hidden actors.
Yeah. So I'm like, I have questions. Like, are you bringing more people in? Like, are you making people?
Something tells me they're real.
Are they real? But like, where do they come from? How does she wheel them in? Did she Doctor Strange portal them in? Are they from another Are they from a multiverse? Like, it's just there's a few plot holes here.
I mean, if we go back to the previous episode or the one before that, there's a time where Jimmy asked Monica the same question of where do these kids come from, and Monica goes, "No, those babies are absolutely real. I was there to
Right.
birth them." So I think they legitimately are real, and somehow she impregnated herself. I don't know.
No, but like all the kids around in the town. Remember, all of a sudden now
Oh, those kids. Oh, right. Because
yeah,
literally last episode they just mentioned there's no kids.
yeah, there's no kids here, and all of a sudden there's a ton of kids around.
You're right. Shoot.
I'm like, how did you get them here? Like, where were they? Were they just all in the outskirts and now they're in the script? Like, did you have them on standby? Were they in the waiting room? I'm just like, where did these kids all of a sudden just pop up from?
No idea.
Yeah, this is I didn't think about that.
I was like, and then even the Quicksilver asked her, he's like, all of a sudden, hey, you got a lot of, like, how did you, all of a sudden there's a ton of kids here. And she's like, no, and that's what she's like, I have no idea. But like but for some reason, as soon as like Vision's in trouble, she snaps in and now she knows what's going on.
Yeah.
I was like, confused. It's confusing.
But there was one thing Pietro said that I was curious to get your take on, OJ, and same for you, Jake. When Wanda first talks to Pietro, and she's like, "Hey, do you remember anything from before? And or why do you look different?" Pietro goes, "If I went back, if you knew someone who went back to Shangri-La and came back, why would they want to remember their life from before?" Does Shangri-La have to do with anything with the plot here? Is there any hero with that background?
Not that I can think of, but I mean, we get what he was saying though. Like, she wanted to want to be reminded of her actual brother who died, I guess.
Right.
He's like, if you want to, like, why further traumatize yourself is what I guess he was trying to say. Or I mean, I don't know if it's a misdirect or mislead or anything, but basically he was implying like, I get it. Like, of course you made my face different because you don't want to be constantly reminded of what you just did, which is either like reminder of what she just did by bringing back to life, or being constant in pain by looking back at her original Pietro. So we'll see.
I was just wondering if that was a reference to something else that I missed.
I was wondering that too when I heard that. I'm like, that sounds very specific.
Yeah.
But knowing no empty is probably something super specific, and I'm sure there's already 10 articles about it.
I already started looking up. I saw one of those videos where it was like counting every single Easter egg in this episode, and there were things in the newspaper. There were the certain types of costumes that were in the crowds, and I'm like, wow.
I didn't catch it.
Yeah, it was a lot of. If you notice back on, because you have to watch like some of that, especially with this show, you need to like watch it like a couple of times.
Yeah.
If you have time, but like it's one of those shows like this, you notice something different every time. Like I noticed all these like witchy figures in the background. They're not moving around. They're just kind of just like props per se, and it's just like they look really witchy, and they're all around the town. But it's a Halloween episode. It's like nothing's wasted here. It's like little details on details because it's Marvel. I don't know. We'll see. What do you guys think is who's ultimately the big cameo coming at the end?
I'm gonna say Reed Richards. That's like the closest thing I could reach for.
Okay, Ethan.
I don't have a good guess. I honestly don't know. I don't know who it could be.
I think we're gonna get the original Quicksilver.
Oh, interesting.
Coming in the end to like rescue her from like the fake Quicksilver.
Interesting. How would they work that in though?
Because then like
no idea.
For Evan Peters.
Yeah. Maybe Doctor Strange, but like no.
Yeah, maybe.
It's very possible, like to lead into Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, maybe Doctor Strange. Maybe Wong. No, not Wong. Mordo, because he's supposed to be in the Doctor Strange, and he's evil already. Chiwetel.
By the way, did we see any of Chiwetel's character like right after his ending in Doctor Strange, or it's like
he hasn't been seen since, but he's confirmed for Doctor Strange 2 though.
Interesting.
Which is a crowded ass movie.
Every MCU movie is going to be crowded.
But I also heard he might pop up in Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi, I mean, which is going to be very Mortal Kombat style of a movie, has a lot of, I heard, surprise cameos in the works. I think we're in the era of cameos for the MCU right now. Surprise cameos is the way to go for the MCU right now, between Spider-Man and Doctor Strange. It's gonna be insane.
You thought they were connecting the dots before. You've seen nothing yet.
Yeah, once this multiverse is open, it's gonna be really hard to keep up. Like, I mean, are we getting like Chris Evans back as Human Torch?
Ooh.
America's there with his shield and the hammer, and he yells,
Oh
"Flame
my
on!"
gosh.
Yeah, like
I would love that.
we might see Human Torch Chris Evans in Doctor Strange too. Like it's that crazy. We might be see Michael B. Jordan Human Torch in there too.
I'd love to see both of those at the exact same time. That's what I would like. Michael B. Jordan, they could both get the redemption they both deserve, honestly. But Michael B. Jordan more so. But yeah.
Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, shit. Chris Evans had 2 shots and it was still a mess. He had 2 movies of that. Yeah, we'll see. We're moving to crazy times. I'm excited for next week's episode. This mystery is more. I think there's 2 villains here. Obviously, I think there's like a magical villain with going on with Wanda, and then you have Hayward, and if Hayward, someone's controlling Hayward. I don't, for some reason, I don't think it's the same parties. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I do agree that like Hayward's like a secondary villain in this case. Although with him, I think right now he just feels more like a standard MCU
textbook villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas it's two villains after each Avenger. Like you have the magical part after Wanda and those babies clearly, and then you have the secondary villain after Vision. Solely, that's all he cares about. Something's because remember on the show he's tracking Vision only. Something's up. Like it's just like, why do you want Vision so bad?
It's part of it. He's got a bigger plan because even when Monica first comes back, he mentions, yeah, we no longer do the space missions. We do mostly AI type of weapons.
Right.
And he was so big on, we need to get the Vision's body back. We had it in the first place. So I think it's part of some big scheme he's got. The Ultron angle makes a lot of sense.
Making the Ultron angle make even more sense. I just can't even think about what his play would be, or what other MCU villain would be so into that.
He's just such a boring villain, though, that we pray there is someone bigger behind him that's more interesting.
Yeah, we might be pulling for straws that like, I'll bring Ultron back, please. Plus, Ultron needs redemption himself. Age of Ultron was special.
James Spader, great actor.
Great actor.
Probably one of the better voiced villains in the MCU. Big fan.
Better than Josh Brolin as Thanos?
A tough one.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
I mean, what are the other voice villains even?
I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna have to rack my mind through all these almost 30 films now to figure them all out. Josh
Brolin like goes above that, I think, just because he got like the films, he got the coverage that he needed.
Yeah,
we have yet to see what Ultron like was really capable of with this.
True, Thanos got the better script, so
Thanos got the better everything.
True.
Right, and he'll be back. Oh, no spoiler. Sorry. Eternals.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yes, we're gonna see I think teenage Thanos.
Teenage Thanos.
Yeah. Because he's part of the read the comics. They're so good.
I got a lot to catch up on.
You're telling me about it.
Yeah. He's very connected though to the group of Eternals. They're part of the Deviants, and he's a descendant of the Deviants. Which, yeah, I don't have time for comic history here. There's another YouTube channel for that. Rate this, guys, on a 1 to 10 this episode.
I'll start off. Yeah, I think this one I'm gonna have to give it a 5, maybe 4.5 out of 10. I didn't think it was a strong episode by any means. I think this one's really living off of the big plot points from the previous episode. All the character development in this episode felt stilted. There wasn't really any character development, and it felt like they were going from plot point to plot point to plot point. Once again, Paul Bettany's the only actor in this whole series that seems to be putting in a great deal of effort, and he's carrying the show on his back, and his plot points are always good. He seems to always be carrying it, and the only scene I thought was decent was the scene where he was trying to break through from the Wanda realm to the real realm. And like I said previously, all the scripting that happens in the sword part of the world, the real world, is terrible. The way this series does exposition is childlike. If they're going to talk the exact same way that we talk here after the fact, to me, I feel like it was cool the first time they did it. This is the third time they're doing it now. I'm gonna have to start taking away points for that because it's too simple. And I don't know about this. I'll ask you guys this too. I get the feeling that when they were writing the script, they were so obsessed with, does this story line up? Because they're crafting such a big universe that they're starting to, they bled into the script. That's why they ask each other questions like, did they recast Pietro? Why is this guy here? Why is this guy doing that? What's the relation here? I think as they were writing it, they got too obsessed with that and they forgot to tell a good story.
I completely agree with you. Like I said in a previous episode, this is the perks of having a cinematic universe.
Yep.
You want to make sure everything connects, and therefore you have to break up a lot of natural flow.
I agree with you guys. It was not the best episode, but I had so much fun watching the twins and seeing them develop, and I'm just such a big fan. I would probably go with a 6. There was just like a lot of cool like gems about this, like seeing them in their Halloween costumes, semi-comic accurate costumes. We'll never get that. So it was just like a lot of great takeaways and visuals here that I just loved. But there was definitely a lot of problems with the script.
Yeah, I agree with you, OJ. I think I would give it a 6. I like that they were emulating Malcolm in the Middle. I do like a lot of the aesthetics they used there, but I agree with you, Ethan. There was just so much exposition in this episode that I really felt like I wasn't as immersed in the world that as I was like in the first couple episodes.
Definitely.
I do think they placed a lot of really interesting ideas of where the future episodes can go, but unfortunately, the episode itself had to take a back seat to that. So
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Next week's prediction, gentlemen.
I still say it will be Two Broke Girls. There will be some sort of Two Broke Girls in there.
It's gonna have to be. I wouldn't be surprised if Darcy had a cupcake shop. I think next episode, Agnes is going to start to come to break out of her shell more and more. I think it's about time, episode 7. And I think when they do with Modern Family with the interview style format, we're gonna start to get some really hard hitting, good character pieces. It's a good time for script redemption, but I think we're gonna get some really interesting story pieces there.
Yeah, I can't wait for the Modern. I'm a big Modern Family fan, so I can't wait for the for that setting. And then I'm hoping for some breakout Agnes scenes. I think there's a lot of. I think she's a very huge part of the plot of what's actually going on that we don't know yet. It's a big mystery. So I commend them on that because we still don't know where. Like I think usually by now you can tell for sure like where this is headed, and we still really don't know yet.
True.
Which is
I
great.
can agree with that. Yeah. 2/3 of the way there, if this was a movie, we're at about 80 minutes in and we still don't know what's happening.
Yeah, we still don't know what's happening. I know that's a bad or a good thing, but I have no clue where this is going. So I'm excited to finally, hopefully, I mean, shit, this is a connected universe. So I guess who knows if we actually solve it this season, or then maybe we'll get the answers in Doctor Strange 2 or Spider-Man.
Who knows? Or maybe the Bucky and Captain, I'm blanking on his name now.
Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, that's it. In their show.
Yeah, we'll see. We will see. That's not going to happen, but we will see. That was not on the list for that of things to accomplish within that show. But I think we're going to get answers by the end of the season.
OJ knows everything. He knows too much.
Yeah, that's not happening. But we'll find out, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next week. Bye.
Bye.